I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action. You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is. Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger. If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth. Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob, and I'm back with episode number 386 of Shut Up and Grind, where we're all about overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, and inspiring you to clear whatever's blocking the path to whatever success you want in this lifetime. So before we get into today's topic, I want to talk about the grind for a second, because I get people telling me, you know, I'm tired of grinding. I grind all the time. And no. That's not what this is about. Anybody can work hard. But are you working for the thing that you want? Are you working for that thing? Or are you just in a job that's unfulfilling that pays the bills? Because those are two completely different things. Like, I'm getting ready in probably about 8 weeks. I'm going to be launching a program that's going to help people turn pain into something purposeful, whether they want to start a blog, whether they want to start a podcast, whether they want to speak in schools or in groups or whatever that thing is that they've overcome. And we're going to help them take that pain and to do something positive with it. So my grind is leading me there. It's not about working 20 hours a day. It's about doing the things that's going to get you one step closer to that thing that you actually want. So that's why this show is titled Shut Up and Grind. Stop talking about it. Start taking the steps and go get that life that you want. All right, so with that being said, today we're going to be talking about stop hustling, start living. So to counteract what I just opened with, right? And helping me have this conversation is Steve. So this conversation will be funny. It will be real, be deeply human, the kind that hits your heart and lights a fire under your feet. Because you don't need more hustle, you need a vision worth living for. Steve, welcome to the show. How we doing?
Good. Thank you, Rob. Very happy to be here and definitely looking forward to our conversation. I loved the opening to your show. I'm sitting here, if you could see me off, in the digital green room, nodding my head going, oh, it's going to be good. I love this guy.
Awesome. Where you joining me from?
I am in a little town in southern central New Hampshire where, thank God I got a heater here in the recording studio because it's been in single digits for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm in Rhode Island, so it's been pretty cold here too. It actually feels like spring today. I think we're over 30 for the first time in weeks.
Oh, well, send some this way, please.
For real. Fun fact, I actually lived in Manchester, New Hampshire in the early 2000s. I didn't even last a year. That winter was atrocious.
I grew up there. Yeah, and I live now about maybe 18 miles away from there. So when people say, can you still see how far away did you grow up from where you live now? I'm like, well, if I hopped in a hot air balloon and it went high enough, I could probably see my house.
Wow. No kidding. So you're originally from New Hampshire?
Yes. Yep. Pretty much been here my whole life, and this year I turned 58. So we're just
nice. We're just
gonna stay here, I guess.
I guess. Yeah. So what was it like growing up there?
It was good. We lived, it's not a big area there. It's I kind of lived at the outer edge of the city, so it was a nice, quiet kind of suburban neighborhood, and I've just kind of lived in places like that my whole life, where you can see the neighbors and connect with them if you want, but you're not overwhelmed by the presence of a lot of noise and traffic. And, it's you can be quiet when you need to be, and you can go elsewhere and find the excitement when you're looking for it.
See, I live in a small town in Rhode Island, and that's underrated. I mean, I know some people love the cities, but like I would take this any day of the week. Just there's like woods in between all the houses. Like you can have your privacy, you can have your solitude. And to your point, if you want to go hang with the neighbors, you can. But it's not like you just open up your door and there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's just no privacy there. So, all right,
Yeah.
so let's dive in to get to the topic at hand here. But first, how would you describe yourself?
I do my best every day to be a human plus sign, meaning wherever I go, whether I'm having a conversation or a text or an email or in person or on a stage in front of 1,000 people, to leave as many situations as I can better than I find it, with a bit of positive energy and charismatic confidence. That's what I try to bring to everything and just elevate the energy all around me. And here's the best part. I own the factory, so I will never run out of plus signs.
Love that. So you talk about charismatic confidence. What does that mean to you?
I'm somebody, like I said, I'm turning 58 this year. I spent more than half my life feeling not enough, not confident enough, not smart enough, not talented enough, not anything enough. And finally, I decided to just be the version of myself I wanted to be. And slowly over time, that confidence has been growing. The bad self talk has gone away because that was present for decades of my life. And somebody once said, what is your ultimate way you want to be in this world? And I said, charismatically confident, meaning I show up with enough confidence to get up there and say what's really in my heart and on my mind and in my soul, but also do it in a way that it excites other people to help them believe they can do it too. So charismatic confidence was just a phrase that came out of that. And that's kind of what I put my cape on every morning or anytime I'm creating something. That's the cape I seek to put on, is charismatic confidence.
See, so the sentence that you said in there that I think probably 80% of the population struggles with is thinking that they're not enough, right? And so you had those thoughts, and the other money sentence you said was you decided you were done with it. I'm paraphrasing, but you decided you were done with it. And that's what I do with my work when I tell people, how long are you going to continue to let that hurt you? It's like, how long are you going to continue to let that haunt you? Like, you can see all the therapists, you can take all the pills, you can do all the everything that you want to do, but until you decide, I am done with this, right? You're never gonna take that step forward. So, what were some of the steps you took to reverse that negative self-talk?
One of the first things that happened, and I actually just discussed this recently on another podcast, in my early 40s, I remembered something that happened when I was 13 years old. I went to a different junior high than 99% of my friends. So I went to a school where I knew nobody, but everybody else all knew each other. So I was just confidence just ratcheted right down. And I made a silly mistake at the spelling bee in English class that year. So I'm 13 years old, seventh grade, and the teacher says, spell awad. And I mean, you're from New England, so
Yeah.
she meant award with an R in it, but the way I heard it, I said awad, AWAD, and I got laughed at all the way back to my seat, the walk of shame all the way back. Now,
Yeah.
I had been getting straight A's my entire life up until age 13. That was the day that I stopped raising my hand in class. I equated getting up in front of the class to being embarrassed. And that literally haunted me until my early 40s, when
Wow.
I'd already been a speaker for a couple of years, but I kept wondering, what's this nagging thing of me so worried and scared when I go up there? And just one day that popped into my head. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're going to let the fact that a 60-year-old Catholic nun with a wicked hard Boston accent said a wad, you're going to let that ruin your entire life? Come on, dude. You're better than that. You know you are. But I let that little nagging instance of embarrassment from 30 plus years prior have that much damage and control over my life. So you know what I did? I started to tell that story on stage. And it got
Yes.
me right through it. I said, all right, here was me being embarrassed on stage when I was 13. I let it bother me for 30 years. Now it's a lesson to help teach other people. And you know what people love the most? Whenever I get asked, hey, Steve, how do you make up the stories you share on stage? I stare at them like a puppy and I tilt my head. And if I could get the surgery to make one ear flop down, I would, because it would be impactful. I say, look, I don't need to make up stories. I'm open and honest and authentic and vulnerable with everything I share. And it has a lesson, so that
Yes.
if you can relate, you can overcome like I overcame. Now, it took me a while, But now it's one of the stories that people love to hear the most because they go, oh yeah, I did something like that too. And you see them get like an inch taller when they realize, hey, there's somebody else who screwed up too. So I'm not so bad. I'm better capable than I thought I was to win at this thing called life.
Yeah, same. What a lot of people don't realize too, like we're no better than anybody else. It's like everybody goes through some type of stress at some point in their life. We're just courageous enough to get up here and talk about it. And to your point, you said, a lesson to teach other people. That's what it boils down to. And similar to what you just shared, I had Olympic dreams back in 1992, track and field. And I ended up injuring my knee trying to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials. And I went into such a deep depression. I was 18 years old. It wasn't until I was 32. Right? I was managing restaurants and I was telling the story. And one of the servers was like, Rob, you got to let that go. That one sentence, just, you got to let that go. And then I got back into coaching and started using that story to inspire the kids to seize the moment, because not everybody is going to be Olympic bound, right? But the ones that had the talent, it's like, just so you know, like you could go far, like don't take it for granted, because like this is what I went through. And so now instead of it being woe is me, it's like you can get ahead of the curve. And I tell people how you beat depression, how you beat anxiety, all that stuff is with purpose. Take whatever is haunting you and turn it into a purpose. Like I started this podcast, like you may have heard in the intro, I was told I would never run or jump again. At 200 plus races later and 16 gold medals later in track and field, we defied those odds. And so I want to bring guests on from all over the world to share their stories of overcoming. So what's something in your life that could have brought you down, but instead you turned it around into something positive?
Oh, as soon as you said that, I recalled something somebody said to me. Now, I was in the radio industry for 10 years, from 1992 to 02. And it was following on a dream I had when I was 11. I wanted to be a radio DJ, a stand-up comic, an author of my own books, and a teacher of people. And so I went to follow this dream of being on the radio. Well, 2 years in, I was a morning show producer of this rock radio station just north of Boston. And we got sold and we all got fired, but they let us do a goodbye show. And one of the people, the general manager of the station, got on the air with us. And he said, Mike, you're so talented. He was the host. He goes, you're going to do fine. Gary, you're so talented. He was our voice and comedy guy. You're going to do great. The sports guy, the news guy. And then he singled me out in front of everybody. And he says, Steve, I don't know what the hell you're going to do. Good luck. And I felt like the biggest piece of garbage because I wasn't a DJ because I didn't have the confidence in my voice. So here I am, barely hanging on by a thread, honored to be a part of the show that was grooming me to get more confident and talented. And all of a sudden it got cut out from underneath me. But for that guy to have said that, and I took it to heart, I literally sat at home for about 3 months, barely left, and didn't know what the heck I was going to do. And then I read Howard Stern's first book. It was about 360 pages about how his trials and tribulations of the early days of radio. I read that in one afternoon and said, I'm sticking with radio. I'm going to see this through. And I wound up having a very successful 8 more years, winning awards, international awards for comedy bits that I wrote and produced. It led me to being a freelance comedy bit writer and a song parody writer, like think Weird Al, for a company in California that fed my material to 100 radio stations across the country. But that one voice of that guy saying, I don't know what the hell you're going to do. Good luck. That was almost on my gravestone as far as a radio career.
Wow. See, in those instances, people have to understand that you have a choice, right? As a freshman in high school, I was 5'4", 88 pounds, right? And I went to my track coach and I asked him for the record book. And he looked at me like, why do you want the record book? And I was like, because I'm going to break the high jump record. And he says to me, you don't have what it takes to be a high jumper. Right. Ooh. And at the time, was you right? I was short, I was scrawny, but my brothers were also over 6 foot tall. My dad was over 6 foot tall. Like at some point I got to grow. Right. So I was like, let me just become a student of the sport. And when my genetics catches up, all will be well. But like he wanted me to not pursue the high jump, and he wanted me to go hurdle. Like, and I didn't. I refused it. Like, I threatened to quit the team. And I held that high jump record for 21 years. You know what I mean?
Nice.
21 years. But in that instance, kind of how that producer did to you, right? People try to clip your wings, but it's up to us. We have the power to not let them. So I'm glad you stuck with it and you went on to have success with it. Yeah. But so you said 8 more years. So what did you do after that?
I wound up actually hired to be a full-time rock morning show producer for 3 years after that at New Hampshire's biggest rock station, which was incredible. What a journey. I learned so much. And then they got sold. And again, we all got fired. So I kind of sat in the ashes for about 6 months trying to pick up another gig. And somebody reached out and said, "Hey, Steve, this station up in the Lakes region of New Hampshire is looking for a copywriter." Now, I'd done copywriting. And I said, "Okay, at least it's my foot in the door, and then I'll expand and include my other stuff." And several of us who were formerly of Rock 101 in Manchester, the station that had gotten sold, we all kind of, without knowledge of each other, we wound up there, including the general manager of the station. And he saw my name in the resumes. He goes, "That's the guy we're hiring." And they go, "Don't you want to interview?" He goes, "No, that's the guy we're hiring," because he knew me. He brought me up there. And for the last 4 years of my radio career, we built our own classic rock station. We staffed it. We did the music. We did everything. We were called the Dirty Half Dozen because there's only like 6 of us that ran the whole thing. We had so much fun. And then the owner was going through a divorce and thinking of selling. And as soon as I heard that, I said, "I'm out of here. This train is done. I can't get thrown off the train a third time." So I quit my radio career. My first marriage ended, and I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt at about age 35. All at the same time, my entire life blew into a million pieces.
All right. And then how did you piece it back together?
It cost me $3.
Okay. I want to hear this.
It actually, emotionally, it cost me a lot more. But that was in the early 2000s. And I wound up, we had just built a recording studio in my dad's basement where I was doing a lot of production work and voiceovers and stuff. So my dad said, "Hey, while you're trying to get your life back, why don't you just take the room down the hall and just stay here?" And it turned into an amazing blessing because at least I got the chance to catch my breath and breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was so mad at myself for blowing up my life. I mean, this is back when my self-talk was still really brutal. Now, if you look back at my old journals, I refer to myself more than once, probably about 100 times, as Hurricane Dumbass Category 5. I mean, my self-deprecation, if it was, a medal sport, I would have as many medals as you because I was really good at it, or bad. But one hot and humid day on a Friday afternoon in August of 2003, I was driving back home and I saw this mini golf place in Bedford, New Hampshire that had a driving range. And I thought, all right, I want to just take out my frustrations on a bucket of golf balls. So I spent $3, get an extra large bucket of balls, went to the farthest tee box in the property because I'm a horrible golfer and I didn't want to dent anybody's car. I'm an equal opportunity slicer. I mean, who knows where they're going to go. So I'm at the far end of the tee boxes. Well, there's this whole line of steel towered power lines with wires right over my head. And like I said, it was hot and humid. A thunderstorm comes ripping through. So I'm standing there barefoot in the wet grass under power lines with a golf club in my hand. Everybody else ran from the storm. I was the only guy left out there. And I'm just hitting away. And at one point, I held up the club in the air and I looked up and I just swung it in slow circles and said, "Go ahead. I dare you." And I just kept looking. I wasn't not mad at God. Some people have said, "You shouldn't tempt God." I'm like, I wasn't mad at God. I was mad at myself. Yeah. And so I hit my bucket, and then I saw there were 2 full buckets in the stalls next to me from 2 guys who ran from the storm and never came back. So I'm looking around going, well, those are mine now too. So I hit golf balls for an hour. And when I was done, I couldn't even lift my arms. I think the last shot went like 6 yards, if that. And part of that was rolling down a hill.
Yeah.
I get out to my car and the rain stops and the first couple little tiny rays of light were coming through the black clouds. And I just started to laugh. I thought that was the funniest thing. Like, well played, God, well played. Next day, I'm on a phone call with a brand new life coach I just started working with. And I was his first client. He had just gotten his certification. And he said, "How was your week?" And I said, "Well, listen to what this dumbass did yesterday." And I told him the story of it. It was brutally self-deprecating, but it was funny as hell because he's on the other end of the phone laughing his brains out, which is something you should never do if you're a coach and your client's life sucks.
Yeah.
But when he stopped
Yes.
laughing, he said, "I got two questions for you. Are you this open and honest about your life with everybody?" And I said, "Well, yeah, usually self-deprecating, but yeah." And then he asked, "Have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be great at both." He didn't know
Mm,
those were two of my four goals when I was a kid.
okay.
He knew I had already done 10 years of radio. There's one. What he didn't know was I was almost finished writing my first book. There's the second. And he asked me if I ever thought of doing numbers 3 and 4.
Wow.
And I said, "Yeah, but I have no idea how to pursue either one." On his desk in the junk mail pile was a brochure from a local community college that had a class that started 2 weeks later called Intro to Stand-Up Comedy. And he
Come
said,
on.
"Yeah." He said, "I'll send you the information if you want to go." I said, "Yeah." And then he asked, "You ever heard of Toastmasters?" I said, "Kind of. They teach you how to, you know, be a, give speeches and stuff." He says, "Yeah, you got the storytelling down. Just go in there and sharpen your tools. I think you do really well." I did stand up for 7 years. I was in Toastmasters for 8, won some international competitions, had a ball, and 20 plus years later, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, I tell
Marvelous.
people I tell people all the time. I mean, like it says up above us, your true power lies in your story. Like
Yeah.
it's there already. It's got the power to heal. Like people think that they have to have like a near death experience or beat cancer or like something huge to have an impactful story. And no, you don't. It's like when I work with people, like I had three ladies on a virtual class. One one of the women, she survived a stroke and a heart attack in the same year at the age of I think she was 32, if I'm not mistaken. Another woman watched her high school sweetheart kill himself, right? So those are two big major things, right? The third woman is like, I can't even compete with that. And I was like, you're not in a competition. I'm like, let's just talk about what you went through. So quickly, she grew up humble in the city, urban environment. You know, her father got a new job. They moved out into a rural area. She fell in love with nature, and she wanted to go back to the urban communities and build outdoor learning centers. I was like, how is that not incredible? Like, that is an incredible story. It's like you're giving these kids access to something that they normally wouldn't, and you're traveling the country, you're making connections, like you're making a difference in the world, but she just didn't see it that way, So to your point from earlier, like when you get a coach, when you get a mentor, you get people who can help you take those gifts and help you unlock the true power of those gifts.
Yep.
So your shirt there says "Got Vision," right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you heard of my intro where I said, without clarity of vision, you're going nowhere, right? So no, what does that process of vision mean to you?
Yeah, I'm big on visualization and vision boards, and that's one of the things I do with my clients. But too many people out there, they think, vision board, they go, "Oh yeah, those arts and crafts projects you do at the beginning of the year. It's like New Year's resolutions on steroids."
Mm,
I said, "Well, in a way, it's not an arts and crafts project." But then they say, "Oh, people come up, they send me a message. 'Oh, Steve, I made a vision board. Can I send it to you?' And I go, 'Go ahead, because I already know what's going to be on it.' If they've never done it or never worked with me before, or somebody like yourself."
yeah.
And I go, "Yep, just as I predicted. It's what I call the vision board starter kit. There's a picture of a Lamborghini, a yacht, a private jet, a mansion, a
Mm,
helicopter, a big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of gold bars and stacks of cash." And there's nothing wrong with any of those things, by the way. But
yeah.
what I always ask people is, okay, first off, that's a delightful letter to Santa Claus. Good luck with that. But second, where are you in this? See, for me, having a vision, it's not what you want to get, it's who you want to become. And those things are part of
Yes.
it. That's great because you get to become a person who can enjoy those things. But I work, and the work we do is so similar. That's why I've been loving your stories here. Um,
Thank you.
I work with a life wheel, which is a pretty common tool in personal development world. And the one I created, the one I work with, has 8 areas of life. And I believe we all need to set at least one goal for each area. Now, I work with your physical health, your emotional well-being. Imagine that, setting a goal for the emotions you want to feel every day. That's powerful. Your
Yes.
closest relationships, your core values that guide everything you think, speak, and do. Your faith, that's an important part of your life, which kind of does the same, but the authority comes from a different direction. Your connection to the world in real ways. And boy, didn't that take a beating during the pandemic just a few years ago? Isolation, depression, addiction, all those things. And then your work and your money. All 8 of those are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether or not you're paying attention. So wouldn't it be a good idea to set yourself up for success by just remembering? Some of them only take moments a day, by the way, but
Yeah.
remembering a full vision of your entire life, the best version of yourself. And don't give me the 20-year out thing. Go through that entire wheel and evaluate where your life is right now. It may not be
Today.
pretty. Today, there's your point A. And what I encourage people to do, especially if they're new at this, is say, 1 year from today, what would you like each area to be? And don't you dare say 10 for all of them, because if you're at a 3 right now, it's going to be a lot. Just how would you like it? What do you want your life to look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like 1 year from now? Tell me some stories. Create the image, create the vision. What's the experience going to be like to be you a year from now? And the reason I say to attach all their senses to it is because that's how you flesh out a real story and a vision.
Love all of that. So you mentioned emotional well-being. Right? I want to get your thoughts on personal boundaries. Because like working in the gym, it's predominant women. Women love to talk, right? So like just in my travels, I hear things and people are like, oh, on Sunday I have to do this. Oh, on Friday I have to do that. And I always say, why do you have to? Like if it's making you feel like that, then why do you have to? Oh well, because then if I don't go, then so and so is gonna feel. Oh, like so you're gonna sacrifice your feeling so and so doesn't feel right. With me, right, I donated a kidney to my sister when I was 38, and
Wow.
through that process, for whatever reason, I felt my mortality. And it was in that moment where I was like, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do ever again. It's like I'm not doing it. And like we had a family reunion down in Florida. The way it was set up, I'm like, this is gonna be a train wreck. I'm like, I'm not going. And people are like, what? You're not going? Like, no, I'm not. I'll see you guys at the next one. So what are your thoughts on personal boundaries and how it ties into emotional well-being?
Yeah, that's huge. Now, I was raised Catholic, which means I've got guilt in my DNA. And somebody recently corrected me. They said second only to having a Jewish mother, and I went, "Well, I can't relate, but okay." They said the guilt was in their DNA for generations, and 10 after them would still have some because there was so much. But I
Yeah.
was just raised that you don't let people down, and even if it puts you out, you just, well, go do it because it's for the well-being. It'll make these people happy and this and that. Hey, you know what? I'm turning 58 this year. That train is over. If it doesn't bring me joy, bring me happiness, then I don't do it anymore. And I have
Bingo.
narrowed my circle of people. I am a
Yes.
recovering yes man. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I used to, and part of the reason that I was so self-deprecating for all those decades, I was damn good at it. And I could be so self-deprecating, I made people laugh, and I equated it to being okay because it made people laugh. And then I realized I'm so dishonoring myself, and I'm so opening the borders here for everyone to critique me because I threw out the welcome mat. So you know what we're going to do? Starting around 2010, when a friend kicked me so hard when he said, "If I ever hear you talk about like yourself like that again, we are no longer brothers." I've set my boundaries of what it's okay to say and do to myself and expect of myself, and what is it okay and expected for other people. If I don't want to be around you, we're not going to be around. I have deleted at one point within 15 minutes, stopping in a store parking lot in between appointments, I deleted about 45% of my phone contacts.
Mm.
Not a single one has made it back into the phone. I draw my boundaries better now than ever. I'd rather be alone for all the right reasons than feel connected for all the wrong ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a holiday class at the gym, and a bunch of people went out for breakfast afterwards, and they're like, "Rob, you want to come?" I was like, "No, no, thank you." He goes, "Why?" I said, "Because I don't want to go." you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's like you asked, I declined. It's like I'm not going to be forced into doing something that I don't want to do. It's like, and all the things that I do are fulfilling to me. So even when I have like Monday was a very long day. But everything that I do, from being in the gym to hosting my podcast to guesting on other podcasts, I coach track and field, like there's just constantly stuff to do. And when I have that downtime is important to me. So it's like I don't want to just go and do stuff just to go do stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like me just being a jerk. Rob's being a jerk now. Like, no, it's like just my personal time is important to me. And I want to decide how I spend it. It's not to hurt anyone else's feelings or whatever else. Now I'm 51. So like, I'm not 25 anymore where I can sleep for 2 hours, work for 12, and then go drink until midnight. Like that's not happening anymore. It's
Yeah.
not happening. So like a good night's sleep, or just a nice quiet night, that's just as fulfilling to me. I mean, I'm a social person. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I have to choose to want to be there. It's like I'm not going to be forced or guilted into doing anything that I don't want to do. And to me, I think that's healthy. Like some people might differ, but I think it's healthy. Like if you can't take care of you, who's going to?
Yeah, exactly. And over the past, let's see, almost 5 years ago, May 4th of this year will be 5 years, was the last time I had a drop of alcohol. And I was not a
Nice.
blackout drinker. I was not a big partier, but it had become a very lazy habit to relax every night, that between
Mm,
7:30 and 8 o'clock, I would have a very tall, we're talking a Cumbie big gulp cup, rum and Coke.
mm.
And by the end of that habit, the Coke was pretty much just like a little brown food coloring. It was mostly rum. And I was 35 pounds heavier than I am now. I was exhausted. I did not like the person I saw in the mirror. My neck had gotten so puffed out that I used to stop breathing 6 to 8 times an hour every night, and I wound up with a CPAP
Wow.
machine, and it was
Hmm.
really bad. And then some people would go, "Hey, Steve, come on out. We're going out for drinks." I'm like, "No, I don't drink anymore." "Well, it's okay. You can be the designated driver." I'm like, "Absolutely not. Here's a border and a boundary right now. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
your chauffeur just so you can go out and get loaded. I'm going
Yeah.
to honor myself." So in the same day, I started exercising, working out, and all of these things. Now people, "Hey, Steve, come on out on Sunday." My family and I have a small nonprofit, and we help a lot of local homeless shelters. So, "Hey, Steve, we're going to have a party on Sunday. What do you want to do?" I'm like, no, not going to make it." "Why not?" "I'm baking cookies for a homeless shelter." "What? No, come on, come on. That sucks. Come out and have fun with us." I'm like, "No, it's because it's just not what I want to do. I would rather
Yeah.
sit home and bake cookies for some homeless people, to just let them know that something was made for them with love and somebody cares."
Yes. Yeah, it's like fun to me. It looks different now. It just
Yeah.
looks different. Like going out and drinking till I can't see. Like that's not fun anymore. I mean, I'm up at 4:30 Monday through Friday. 4:30 a.m. to head to the gym. It's like I can't be going out drinking till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like it's just not. It's not even that I can't. Like I don't want to. Or that's not something that I want to do. We do something on, say, a Saturday afternoon. That's different. But to go out like late at night, it's not my thing anymore. But I do want to circle back
Mhm.
to you. How did you call it? Self-deprecation? Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, struggle with that. With just that negative self-talk, whether it's imposter syndrome or self-doubt, whatever it is. Just walk me through that part again.
Yeah. I was really good at it. And as near as I've been able to figure out, I would do it to myself before somebody else would do it to me. I would almost
Mm,
disarm the bullies in a way, because I would just crap all over myself before they could. And I could do it better than them anyway.
mm,
So it was, in a way, I might have seen it as self-preservation, but now looking back, it was basically just me swinging wrecking balls at my own kneecaps, just taking myself out so that I wouldn't get anybody else trying to take me down. I could do it better than they could anyway. I was more clever at it. There's a reason I survived 7 years of stand-up. I was good at it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't aiming the humor in the right direction. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But I
like
truly believed I wasn't worthy. That's why I did it. I
Yeah.
held myself down.
Yeah, it's like, and people don't understand that the mind controls the body, right? So what you tell yourself, the body's going to respond. Like I did to illustrate this with my track team. I said, I want you all to close your eyes. I said, now I want you all to picture an ice bath, right? And like we held the silence for a bit. I'm like, you can picture the ice bath. Now picture getting in it, right? I said, now how many of you suddenly felt cold? And all of the hands went up. Yeah. Like that quickly. Like that's how quickly your body can respond to what you tell yourself. So if you tell yourself you're not good enough, you're not good looking enough, you're not talented enough, you're not smart enough, you're not lucky enough, like whatever it is that you want to tell yourself, your body's going to respond accordingly. And then that's going to become part of your belief system. So I started this by asking you to describe yourself, right? And so now, how does your belief system keep you fueled each and every day?
This is a lesson I learned by observing one of my grandfathers. He never actually verbalized it, but he was a simple, hardworking, family-loving. I used to call him my adorable little old man. He was my Pepe, so he was my grandfather on the French side. He would, wherever he was, he would just look for an opportunity to leave a situation better than he found it. If he lived in your neighborhood and he drove past your house the morning after a big storm, he would go, oh my gosh, that tree branch fell down and broke a picket on Rob's fence. He would get his tape measure, his stubby little pencil. He was a lifelong carpenter. He would walk over, measure it, go to his workshop, build you a fence picket. If he had the same color paint as your fence, he would actually paint it, Rob, and go put it and fix your fence, and you would never know Al Dion had been there. Wow. He just intentionally left plus signs wherever he went. So I try to do that as well. And it's never for glory or for ego or for, like we see some influencers out there, hey, look at me, I'm feeding a sandwich to a homeless person. Aren't I awesome? It's none of that. It's just putting ripples into the world, even if there's nobody there to see them, because we never know where the ripples go. And that's what I try to do. And I create ripples for myself too. You talked about your routine. You wake up at 4:30 Monday through Friday. I wake up at 5:05 because I work out at home, so I don't have to drive anywhere. So I get an extra half hour. But I get up now. God bless Mel Robbins. I love Mel Robbins. Here's how I get up every day, and I've done this for several years now. I turn off the alarm within 5 beeps. This is the 5-second rule that Mel talks about. And then in my head, I count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. By the time I hit 1, both feet have got to be on the floor. I'm sitting up. I stand up, grab my phone, turn the light on, make the bed, head into the bathroom, look in the bathroom mirror, and just point at myself. And I say, I love you, because you are a good dude with a big heart. And unfortunately, about 14 months ago, I lost my wife, Tina. So I always say, I love you because you're a good dude with a big heart. And I always look up and I say, and you love your Tina. So today, you're going to be the best version of yourself. You're going to honor her memory and her legacy. And we're going to go make some plus signs happen. Let's kick some ass. And that's how I start every day, where it used to be looking in the mirror going,
amazing.
Ugh. So, and two, I'll look and I point and I'd go, you are a $10,000 per event speaker. And that is one of my big goals of this year, to get my first $10,000 keynote presentation. And I say that every morning, and I just put it out there. And then I have to, of course, some people say, well, you put it out there, it's the universe. Set it and forget it. Like you're on some old Saturday morning TV infomercial, the one with the rotisserie chicken, when the whole crowd goes, set it and forget it. Dude, that is not visualization, law of attraction, or the universe. It's not set it and forget it. It's set it and get off your butt and go get it.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So that's what I work hard to do every single day.
Yeah, we're on similar paths, because that's my goal for this year too. I actually joined the program that starts on Monday. Like, I don't have an issue with the speaking, right? I have no, like, my show, this show is booking into almost September, 4 days a week, right? I'm booking it into September already. Awesome. I'm probably booked on about 30, 40 podcasts for this year so far. But I'm not getting the paid gigs. It's like, so I joined this program because, joining with the bigger name speakers, they can get you in the seats faster than you can. Like, I've been pitching the local TV stations here and crickets. I actually got introduced to one of the sportscasters who I gave him my info. He said, I can't make any promises. He says, but I promise you a producer will see it. So I was like, okay. But like working with this program, this woman, she can make a phone call to the Today Show and get me booked next week.
Yeah.
So it's worth the investment. But that's my goal too. Is although my goal is a little more ambitious, like I want 20K per. Only because I've listened to some people who are getting 25, 30K, and I'm like, how are they getting that with that energy? But yeah, I guess it depends on the event. But I mean, I think both of us, just from the 40 minutes we've spent together, we definitely have the tools to make that happen. Right. Yeah. And saying things out loud is huge. Like I did the business plan for what I want the next year to look like. And the projection in top line revenue is 1.1 million. Now, I've never made that much money before. It's like I've made multiple six figures, but like I've never made that much. But I had to put it on paper, and I make sure I say it multiple times, right? And again, it's not to try to flex or to brag or anything. Like I want this to come true. And where a lot of people go wrong with their dreams and all that is they keep it inside. Because how I met that sportscaster, it was through one of my personal training clients. I was telling him a story because I actually drove down to the TV studio. I was just going to walk in and ask to speak to a producer, but you have to have an appointment. So I was just telling him about that. He's like, oh, I'm friends with Frank Carpano. I was like, get out. But if I never shared that story with him, I would have never made that connection. So speaking out, it's huge. But let's talk about you. You mentioned you had books.
Yeah, 4 right? So far, right. And I'm working on number 5, which is this what I'm loosely calling the Steve and Tina story, which is all about the love that my soulmate, my twin flame, and I got to have for 6,386 days, which is 17 and a half years that we got to be together. So that's my 5th book that's coming out. The other ones are all they're simple books. I mean, my brand, I own the trademark on this phrase. It's motivational firewood, meaning if you have a spark in your heart of something you want to create in your life, but you don't know what to do with it, where to go, how to even start. If you hear me speak or hear one of my programs and you get an idea to take that first action, like you had that conversation with somebody who led you to connecting you with a producer. You start taking those steps. And I said this one time to somebody when he was asking what separates me as a speaker. And after 3 or 4 minutes of me just throwing lame answers his way, I finally just said, look, if somebody has a spark in their heart and they're paying to see me, and I share a tip, a tactic, a story, a strategy, or something that inspires them and gives them a little guidance to take that next step, it's like I gave them a piece of motivational firewood. So that's what all my books are. They're simple quotes and messages with a call to action, which I call motivational firewood, and then some journal pages. So as people start to get those wheels going, they can track their progress and show themselves that they started here and now they're here. And the reason I do it that way, I believe life's a lot like an old wooden roller coaster. You start at the parking lot level with everybody else. But one of your goals, any one of them, is at the top of that first hill. Now, you can't start halfway up and you can't skip any steps. You got to go click, 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 click. You got to hit every single click before you get over the top. That's the way we succeed with our goals, because it's not just getting there, it's the person you become along the way. So that's why I say slow and steady wins the race. Be careful of people who promise these instant results, because you're not going to be the person you need to be. You're not going to get acclimated. That's why we see people win millions of dollars in the lottery, and within 5 years, they're several $1 million in debt. They got nothing left because they didn't become the right person. So that's the way that I take everything I do, everything I say, everything I create, all the learning programs I've created. It's all about becoming that person, setting your boundaries like we discussed, but also having that spark and knowing what to feed it to get there. You're going to get your 20 grand. And then all of a sudden that's going to be your lower threshold. And you're going to go up. I know people that make 100 grand for half an hour, 40 minutes on stage.
Yep.
I've literally been in their homes and listened to them talk, and I'm thinking, they're just like us. But
Yeah.
they've figured out a way and they've made the right connections. Greatest connection I ever made early in my speaking career was when my then marketing person in June of 2011 called me up in a panic and said, Steve, I need to know if you're available tomorrow morning. I said, for what? She goes, well, I sponsored the 8th hole at this golf tournament, and I need somebody to measure how far people can hit a marshmallow with a golf club, and I thought of you.
That's amazing.
I thought, well, hold on, let me check the decade at a glance. Da, da, da. Yeah, I'm available. What time? And she said the time. So there I am sitting in a golf cart the next morning with a gym bag overflowing with bags of marshmallows. And this woman comes along and sits in the cart next to me and looks at the bag and she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm measuring how far people can hit a marshmallow with a golf club. And she says, what do you do for a living? Because I can't imagine this is it. And I go, no, actually, I'm a speaker. I talk positivity, visualization, vision boards. And she asked, oh, do you have a card? And I said, sure. And I gave her a card. 15 months later, she called, and it turned into, with counting referrals and the 4 events she hired me for, close to $10,000 worth of work.
That's amazing.
I was sitting next to the CEO of one of the most successful real estate companies in Southern New Hampshire. Just being me.
You never know. You never know where the blessing is going to come from.
Yeah.
You know, that's what, like, people, you know how there's people who are just miserable all the time. And
well, I don't know them anymore, but I used to.
Yes. Yeah. It's like when I encounter people like that, I'm like, while you're in this state, you can't see all the blessings that are trying to get your attention.
Yes.
You know, like they're all there. Like just 3 years ago, I literally lost everything. Lost a car, lost a house. I walked away from my fitness business. Like dropped the keys on the desk and was like, if this is how things are gonna go, I'm done. Right. Yeah. I was bouncing in and out of hotels for about 6 days until I finally swallowed my pride and I called my mom. And for a minute there, you know, I went into a dark place. You know, I paused my show because I'm like, I can't get up here and be all, my life just went to hell. And I was like, how can I do that? I was holed up in my room and drinking like a fish. I was just in that dark place. And it was actually when I restarted the show, my very first guest was like, she moved from Vancouver, Canada down to Hollywood because she wanted to break into that industry. She's like, I went to every studio and knocked on every door until I got a yes. You know, and I'm like, why am I sitting here wallowing in misery? Like, there's opportunities out there. So I got to practice what I preach. And so I went down to where I went to high school. Believe it or not, my track coach is still coaching all these years later.
Oh,
right?
wow.
He's still coaching.
Nice.
So I was actually going to pivot away from fitness at first. And I was going to go into digital marketing. But once I went down and I started volunteer coaching, that first practice, just getting out there with the athletes, it completely relit my soul. Completely relit it. I'm like, I belong in the gym. I was like, I belong. Like, I need to expand my show again. I need to get back on the speaking circuit. And just this positive snowball just took off. You know, and then 3 years later, I'm getting ready to launch $1 million business. You know what I mean? Went from bouncing around from hotels, but what shifted? What shifted was me taking my head out of the sand and being like, dude, you literally have a show called Shut Up and Grind.
I know, right? You should go back right? And listen to your own episodes, right? I've done that.
Yes. Oh God. Yep. Yeah. So we're coming up on time here. Is there anything that you want to throw in that we haven't covered yet?
I think a really important thing, and for the people who might be in that spot, hopping hotel room to hotel room, or making that call to a parent saying, hey, can I come crash there for a little bit? We got to be super careful. Like Jack Canfield calls them the, what does he call it? The Ain't It Awful Club. The people who just wallow in that misery. And then the worst question you can ask the universe is, what else could possibly go wrong? Oh my God, don't ever say that, because you make the universe giggle. And then like a seagull with the digestive output of a lactose intolerant Great Dane locked in an ice cream truck, it's going to fly over you and drop something new on you. So be careful about that. The way that I help people transition out of that is I tell them, look, I'm going to give you an exercise of a challenge for 7 days. I want you to write the date, write the words great stuff and write 1, 2, 3. And in less than a full line each, I want you to write your 3 best moments of yesterday. Don't broad brush anything. Just say, oh, I got to hold the door open for this person. Somebody did something nice to me. I made a healthy dinner last night of, and then you say what it was. Because when we're staring at the big picture, when things may not be going well, like I talked about at the end of hitting the golf balls in the thunderstorm, there's still all the dark clouds in the sky, but I want people to start focusing on those tiny little rays of light that are coming through. What good thing happened? And some people have said, well, Steve, some days there's no good, nothing to be grateful for. And now I tell them, I said, look, my wife and I were traveling in London. We're 3,000 miles from home. 24 hours after we arrived there, she passed away of ischemic heart disease, suddenly and unexpectedly in our hotel room. I found her. She mercifully still had a pulse when I found her. So myself and the hotel employee with medical training were trying to resuscitate her while the EMTs were rushing there. She literally died in my arms. That was the single worst day of my life. You know what I'm grateful for? I'm grateful she still had a pulse when I found her, and I was holding her, crying, and telling her I love her as she passed away. I'm grateful that she still had a pulse, that she still had a heartbeat, and she was still with me in that sense. When she passed, she was not alone. I'm grateful for that. So if I can find gratitude in that, not to compare it with anybody else's troubles, you can find even the tiniest bit of gratitude in any day. And if your life's in trouble right now, start finding those, because those are going to be the bricks in the foundation that you use to set your high jump record someday of where your life can go.
Jeez, you had me reminiscing about my dad. You know, it's like I watched my dad pass away, and he died November of 2019. So the instant gratitude is if he survived into 2020, it would have been way worse for him. Yeah. You know, like he would have just been alone. But like there were 3 generations of us around him. Like he was in a coma. So they were able to unsedate him enough to where he could hear us. Like he had tubes in his mouth and everything, so he couldn't talk, but he could, you know, shake his head yes, shake his head no. So each of us got to take turns saying goodbye. You know, then like my mom played their sweetheart song. She sang it to him. We're all bawling. You know, it's like when you look back on it now, that was an incredible ending.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're all gonna die, right? Nobody's getting out of this alive, you know. But I can look back on that, and that gratitude moment is like, this was effing awesome. Yeah. You know, to actually get to say goodbye, you know, and not have it just be sudden with you. Like that's a completely different. That's a frying pan to the face. You know, at least with us, we knew it was coming. We could mentally prepare. You know, and we got to say those goodbyes. So, to your point, there's golden nuggets in every bit of stress, every bit of drama. Like I had a military guy on here who was suffering from PTSD, and it's like, look, like what you went through, you'll never ever unsee it. I said, but the strength is that it didn't consume you. That's where the strength is in that story. Like, and he said he never really looked at it that way. He was just more of why he had survivor's guilt. You know, pretty much he had survivor's guilt. But like I said, no, like if you reframe this, like there's golden nuggets in every tragedy. Like no matter how bad it is, that there are. Like another case in point, my niece, her son died of, I believe it was leukemia at 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
And all of us were like, you know, when I tell you, she gave the most amazing eulogy. It's like we thought she was gonna be a hot mess. Her son's laying in a box, and she gave the most beautiful eulogy I've ever heard. Like so much gratitude, and you just lost your 2-year-old, right? Yeah. With like she brought him to the hospital on the Thursday. He passed on that next Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
Know? Yeah, but the way she got up there with the gratitude and she just spoke from her heart is like, oh my God, it was such a tear jerking moment. Yeah. You know, I know we kind of went off topic a little there, but I mean, I think it all ties into what we were talking about. You know, any mess that anyone goes through, if you step back, step away from the what happened, and then look at the days, the weeks, the months afterwards, and then they'll start seeing those golden nuggets. But I'm going to throw it back to you for a final word. Just whatever it is you want to share, whatever you want the people to hear, floor is yours.
This year's word is resilience for me, and it means, coming back, rising from the ashes, bouncing yourself off the walls a different way. And the reason resilience is so powerful to me is one of my signature stage stories is called "Some Days Your Phoenix Rides a Pogo Stick," meaning you just keep coming out of the ashes. You're going to burn your tail feathers off every time you go through something in life. I get that. But every time they grow back, they're stronger. The colors are more vibrant. And as long as you remember to just keep flying higher every single time, your phoenix can ride a pogo stick, and that's okay. Because every time you fall in the fire and burn your tail feathers off, you get a great story to share to help other people. So just keep that word in mind. Resilience. It's part of my mission.
Nice. Love it. Yeah, that program that I just joined, they asked us to choose one word to describe our keynote. That's what my word was, resilience.
Oh, perfect. Love that. Hey, the world needs all it can get, seriously. And people like you and me, we get to share ourselves openly, honestly, and authentically and vulnerably to help other people create their own resilience. So I think this has just been an amazing conversation. I'm so appreciative that you invited me to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of invitations, I also do panels. So this one here, I take one topic, as you say, this one was embracing vulnerability, as we were just discussing. I invite up to 6 of my former guests back. And so that one, only 4 could do it. But sometimes there's 6 plus myself. We take one topic and we just take turns round tabling that one topic. Right. And you would think the responses would get redundant, but people forget. Like, I can say the word vacation to 100 people and you probably get 100 different answers. Like, some people will think hiking, some people will think snorkeling, some people will think going to the beach, mountains, right? Whatever. So with these panels, a lot of good things happen. Like, people have gone on to co-author books. People have started their own shows. I got in collabs with a couple of them too, and they're just such a great time. So if you're interested in doing one of those, let me know, and I'll keep you in the queue.
Definitely. I appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah. And so, all right. So we're going to say goodbye. Just don't sign out yet, though. Yeah.
Got it.
I'm going to talk to you after the outro, please. All right. Take care. And for those of you who tuned in live, thank you very much. And we'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.